Hello and welcome to Berry Aftercare. I am Dr. Connie Stapleton, the host of Berry Aftercare, the podcast, and the creator of Berry Aftercare, the program. If you're not familiar with Berry Aftercare, the program, I encourage you to go to www.berryaftercare.com and learn more about it. Today, you guys, I want to talk about what we've been talking about a little bit so far, but I want to tell you a little bit of a story about myself when I was in high school. Well, when I was in high school, and maybe this was you as well, you took a foreign language. Well, I took a foreign language for not one, not two, not three, but 4 years of high school, and I took Spanish. Well, here's the deal. After high school, I didn't practice any Spanish. I didn't really practice much of it when I was in high school, truth be told, although, enough to pass the exams. I didn't immerse myself in Spanish. I didn't watch any television shows that were in Spanish. I never went to a Spanish speaking country. As a result, I don't know how to speak Spanish. Sure, I know a few words here and there. I can pick up a phrase. I have the very first conversation in the very first textbook memorized and repeat it fairly often because my sister and I used to say it to each other a lot. Anyway, if they had had a list of predictors for maintaining the ability to speak Spanish even mildly fluently, the list would have included things like take a refresher class, practice your Spanish, find someone who speaks Spanish and speak the language with them regularly. Watch some kind of television show that is in Spanish, read Spanish literature, get People magazine in Spanish, go to a Spanish speaking country. Those are the kinds of things that would have likely resulted in my ongoing ability to speak Spanish. But I'd have had to do those things over the course of the way many years it's been since I was in high school. Well, the last couple of videos we've been doing have been talking about predictors for successful weight maintenance. Let me remind you one more time that the purpose of having weight loss surgery, yes, is in part to get the weight off. But if your vision ends there, you're likely to do what you've done in the past when you've lost weight, and that is regain the weight. Not what we're going for here with the bariatric surgery. When you have the bariatric surgery, you want to lose the weight and you want to keep the weight off. So I'm going through several weeks here where we're talking about predictors for successful weight maintenance because one of the very most important things I want to get across to you, regardless of where you're at in this process, is to get in mind the idea that you've got to think about this journey as long-term weight loss, not getting the weight off. Please change your goal from losing weight to living a healthy lifestyle at a healthy weight for your body. I choose health. I choose health. That is my mantra for the year. This year's slogan, I choose health. Remember, we move in the direction of our most dominant thought. So keep your most dominant thought, I choose health. So this week, we're going to talk about the third and fourth thing on the list of predictors for successful weight maintenance that a group of researchers has put together. I'm so grateful that I stumbled across this list because it's given me a way to say to people, I'm not just making this up. This is researched. It is what are those words that the healthcare professionals love to use? It's evidence-based. So we have evidence-based research showing that these predictors for successful weight maintenance actually work. It's up to you whether or not you use them. My job is to present them to you. So I'm doing my job and I'm hoping that you're going to do yours. So the reason I chose two of these predictors for successful weight maintenance is because I think they go hand in hand. They're like hand in glove, kind of the same thing really. They are having healthy coping skills and having the ability to handle life stress. So I lumped these together because the way you handle life stress in a capable manner is by implementing healthy coping skills. So we're going to talk about the ability to handle life stress by using healthy coping skills. So, a lot of people tell me when I work with them post surgery, if they've regained, that the reason they regained was because life happened. Air quotes, right? Life happened. Well, life will continue to happen for the rest of your days because life, my friends, is life. And life is filled with happy moments and sad moments and exhilarating moments and despairing moments and frustrating moments and gleeful moments and depressing moments. And sometimes the moments last longer than moments, right? The point is, you are going to be experiencing, usually within the course of a day, a lot of highs and lows. And through the course of your life, however many years you have remaining, you're going to experience seasons where things seem to be rolling right along fairly smoothly. And you're going to have seasons that seem to be just like everything goes right. And then you're going to have seasons where life is just stress filled. So you've got to have healthy coping skills to handle the stressors that are inherent in life. And stress is inherent in our daily lives. I don't know anybody who doesn't have quite a bit of stress in their life. If you do, give them a high five for me. But we're going to talk about developing the ability to handle these daily life stressors throughout your day without turning to food. So there's some overlap with the talks we've done and the videos we've done about emotional eating because emotions are often obviously associated with stress, frustration, anger, hopelessness, sadness. And I have a thought that's coming into my mind, so I'm just going to share it with you. And it's about hopelessness. And this is relevant to the bariatric process because in times past, maybe you've become hopeless about this business of weight loss and thinking you'll ever be able to keep weight off. I don't want you to despair and fall into hopelessness because here's an interesting piece of research, and it's interesting how the world does this, or the universe, or life. I read about this experiment last week. And yesterday, I swear to God, in church, the person doing the talk shared the results of this exact same experiment I had heard about earlier in the week. Isn't that weird when that happens? So I want to share this with you because it's about hopelessness. And the experiment was with rats. And what they did was they put these rats in water to swim. And within 15 minutes, all of the rats had died. They'd become hopeless. They'd given up any hope, and they drowned. So then what they did is they put a new batch of rats, and I know this is heartbreaking because of the animal rights and all of that stuff, but this was an experiment. They put these new set of rats in the water, and before 15 minutes, because they knew that was the time when it was going to be too late, before 15 minutes, close to that 15-minute mark, maybe it was 11 minutes or something, they rescued the rats out of the water for about a minute, and then they put them back in the water. And they did this a couple of times, and then they left the rats swim to see how long they would continue swimming. And the results were the rats didn't quit swimming. When I read the thing that said they swam for up to 90 hours. And when they said it in church, it said they never quit swimming. Either way, it was because they had a sense of hope. They knew that at some point in time, they could be plucked out of that water. And so they never gave up. Isn't that interesting? So, what is possible regarding hopelessness with weight, even if you've continued to lose and gain, if you put some additional effort into this process and use these skills these predictors for successful weight maintenance, and get help if you need it from professionals, from peers. To remain consistent with these behaviors, you will have hope. And hope means you don't ever have to quit. So if you can maintain this weight loss for a period of time, even if you start to regain a little bit, but you re-engage, get some help, you'll find that you can maintain your weight loss. So there's always, always hope. Do not give up. And I know there's hope, and you know there's hope because there are hundreds and thousands and millions of people who have lost weight with and without weight loss surgery who continue to keep that weight off. That's how they came up with these predictors for successful weight maintenance, because there's so many people who absolutely have kept weight off. So these healthy coping skills and the ability to handle life stress are two things that you've likely got to learn. A lot of people after weight loss surgery are kind of like those rats who are out in that water feeling like they're drowning because they have such a habit developed, so many years behind them of using food when life gives them stressful seasons, days, moments. And they don't have the healthy coping skills to get through those times, which leads to hopelessness. So, if knowing that there is increased hope for sustaining your weight loss, if you develop these coping skills, then why the heck wouldn't you do it? Right? I'm encouraging you, please, please take some time, even if you're thinking, coping skills, smoking skill. It works if you work it. So life is going to continue to be stressful. How are you going to handle it? Because when you take away the food, if food was a source of comfort for you, if food helped you during those moments of stress, and if that is your primary coping skill for dealing with stress, then you got to learn something new, or you'll be out there paddling and feeling hopeless, like you're going to drown. Here's one of the things you don't want to do after weight loss surgery is you don't want to find a different unhealthy coping skill, because of course there are healthy coping skills and there are unhealthy coping skills. For many, food has become an unhealthy coping skill because although it makes you feel better momentarily, the added weight has often left you unable to do the things you want to do in your life and with a multitude of health problems. And if you weren't there yet, you were likely headed in that direction. So, developing these healthy coping skills, even though it sounds airy fairy, is critical to your long term weight maintenance success. The choice is therefore yours. So, we're going to talk about these coping skills, what they are, how to use them, and as we talked about already, why to use them. So, again, a note of caution: food, an unhealthy coping skill that makes you feel better temporarily, but leads to those long term negative effects, as does alcohol, especially for a bariatric post op, because after surgery, one alcoholic beverage equals three, and within 5 minutes, you are legally intoxicated, which could lead to DUIs, increased substance use disorders. And you don't need a new problem to have to deal with while you're working through the issues that food and weight have caused you. So please refrain from turning to something else with a short term feel good but a long term devastation: alcohol, pain medication, shopping, spending too much money, um, unsafe sex hookups. Anything that's going to lead to more problems is called a coping skill, but an unhealthy one. So we're going to focus on healthy coping skills. So again, let's talk about what they are. There are two main types of coping skills. And I think what you're going to find out is most often we need to incorporate both types when we're dealing with stress, some sort of daily stressor. So there's problem-based coping, which means you've got a situation, something stressful happening in the moment. It's a problem, you're looking for a resolution, but as a result of the problem, you have intense emotions. So we want to solve the problem and we want to deal with these emotions because they maybe feel unpleasant. There's anxiety, there's anger, there's frustration, there's hopelessness, there's feeling out of control, there's sadness. A lot of those are the times when people reach for food before surgery. Again, after surgery, you got to find a healthier replacement. So you have problem based coping skills that are needed, and you need emotion based coping skills. And again, most likely you're going to need to usually incorporate both. But what are these kinds of things? Well, one of the things you can do is try to avoid problem based issues. For example, you can learn to do things like schedule your life. That helps you not overbook yourself or run late or use a planner. Those kinds of things. Those are healthy coping skills. But let's say you have double booked yourself. You have a haircut and you have a therapy appointment at the same time. Oh my goodness. Now what are you going to do? You need the therapy and you need the haircut. So now you got a problem. And you're going to have to figure out some sort of solution. But as a result of that problem, you're anxious, you're frustrated with yourself, you're irritable, you don't know which one to cut out. So, in order to deal with these unpleasant emotions, often in the past, prior to having weight loss surgery, you'd have turned to food. Now, why does food work? Because it increases dopamine in your brain, especially the processed foods, refined sugar, refined flour, anything with a lot of sugar and or preservatives that are not natural foods will increase the dopamine in your brain. What does that mean? That means you feel better. Ah, temporary moment of relief. Well, it didn't solve your problem. So you still have to cope with the problem. And after you're finished soothing yourself with an adult pacifier, yes, adult pacifier in the form of food, and you've calmed yourself down, now you got to still solve the problem, which may increase your emotional tension again. This is why, in order to keep your weight off after surgery, you've got to learn to develop healthy coping skills because you're going to have stress throughout the day. Your kids are going to call, they've forgotten something from their for school. You know, your partner or your spouse may call and cancel plans at the last minute, and that leaves you irritated. Somebody from your family calls and, chews you out because they're accusing you of causing some rift in the family. You had nothing to do with it, and you're feeling betrayed, and all these things. Life happens. You're running late, you're out of gas, you need to stop for gas, and now you're later. Stress, life. You're trying to get a hold of somebody, you can't get a hold of them, you can't get an answer to give to the boss. It happens throughout the day. Throughout the day. So, how are you going to deal with that stress without the balm and the dopamine release in the brain that makes you feel temporarily better? You got to learn to deal with life on life's terms. And what that means is you got to say, this is the situation. This is how I'm feeling about it. And then you got to decide, what do you want to do? Do you want to scream at your sister who called you? Do you want to snap at your kids because you're running late and you're going to blame it on them? Do you want to take it out on your spouse? Do you want to? Those are not healthy options, right? Those are other examples of unhealthy coping skills. I mean, screaming at somebody's coping skill, you get the anger out, you get the frustration out, but we want to learn to be healthier adults, for one thing, in our trajectory of life, but we also want to learn these skills to calm ourselves down in rational, healthy adult ways and not affect any other people in our lives. I'm going to share with you something, and I've done this, I've shared this with you before, but stay with me here because it's really good information that came from my 7-year-old grandson who has obsessive compulsive disorder, which is very, very rampant, not only in my family, but in both the in-law families. I have three grandchildren with obsessive compulsive disorder, and they're in therapy. So they're learning healthy coping skills. Go figure. And I love this. So my 7-year-old grandson was telling me what his therapist taught him about a healthy coping skill and what a healthy coping skill is. And here's what he told me. He said, it has to not hurt me. It can't hurt me. It can't hurt other people. It has to be easy and it has to help me feel better. I thought, wow, that's really great. So let's go over some of the things that we as adults use as coping skills, starting with food, since, dealing with life and life's stress with healthy coping skills is the topic for today. So you have a stress at work, at home, in your car, with a friend, with your parent, with your spouse, with the kid, whatever. And you have sadness or irritation or anger or whatever it is you feel. So you have options, right? Now, in the past, food has helped you calm down for a minute, and then you deal with the problem, and then you start feeling worse because, oh my God, look what I did. I ate when I was, you're off track. We want to stay on track. So food, let's put them up against the criteria that my 7-year-old grandson said. Will it hurt me? Yes, it will. If you're a post-op patient, engaging in unhealthy eating is going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you emotionally. It could hurt you physically, literally. And it may not hurt you physically, literally in the moment, like it's going to rupture some stitches or anything, but it's going to take you off track. It's going to add weight to your body. That's not where you want to go as a healthy post-op. So food doesn't meet the first criteria. It's going to hurt me. It's also going to hurt other people. What do you mean, Connie? How's it going to hurt other people? Let me tell you. If you eat something that you know is ultimately not in your best interest as a post-op, something filled with sugar or very processed, very refined, you're going to feel bad emotionally after you've consumed that. And for many, many people, when they do something that they feel regret and remorse and guilt over, then they feel shame. Oh my God, what have I done? I'm so bad. What have I done? And when we feel regret and remorse and shame, we aren't often at our best. And so now we snap at somebody because we're thinking negative things about ourselves. And so we behave badly. Thoughts, feelings, behaviors, all intertwined, right? I ate the thing I know I'm not supposed to eat. Now I feel bad. Now I'm going to behave badly toward other people. It's just kind of how it rolls. So, food as a coping skill for stress doesn't meet the first two criteria. It hurts me, it hurts others. It's easy, most often, yes, it is. And it makes me feel better. Well, yes, it might temporarily, but we all know that in the long run, it makes me feel worse. So it doesn't meet 3 out of the 4 criteria. So that is not a healthy coping skill. Let's say we call a good friend and say, oh my gosh, I can't believe this. My mother called me. She said this and this and this, and I'm so angry. And I really just need to talk about it. Do you have a few minutes? Friend says, sure, go ahead. So you get it all out. Tell her how you feel. Tell him how you feel. They're like, wow, that's stressful. They really give you some reassurance. Is that a healthy coping mechanism? Did it hurt you? No. Did it hurt them? No, you got their permission. Was it easy? Yes, you made a phone call. Did it make you feel better? Yes, it did, because you vented it out. Let's say you decided you were so frustrated and angry, had a lot of energy, so you decided to go outside and walk quickly around the block or around the building or around your car. Who cares? Did it hurt you? No. Did it hurt anybody else? No. Did it make you feel better? Yes. Was it easy? Yes. Healthy coping skills meet those 4 criteria. And there are lots and lots and lots and lots of healthy coping skills. And once you're able to deal with the emotional issues that have surfaced in response to this situation, the stressful situation, then you can apply problem-based coping. I can list my options. I can make a list of pros and cons. I can talk to a couple people, get some input. But the emotional upheaval caused by the situation, the stressful event in your life, has to be dealt with. As a post-op who wants to keep that weight off, you want to do that in a healthy way. So we've done a lot of events, a lot of videos, a lot of talks that focus on what those exact kinds of things are. So I'll just review some very quickly, very easily. Basically, when you're coming up with a healthy coping skill to deal with life stress, you want to do it in some way that's going to be caring and loving for yourself. So a healthy coping skill, a lot of times you want to change your mood. I'm angry, I'm frustrated, to being calm. I may have shared with you when I went to give blood last week, and it's difficult for me to find time in my schedule, but it's important to me to go give blood. So I rearranged my schedule and I got up there and they were running really, really late. And my level of anger was way higher than the situation called for. And I didn't want to hurt me. I didn't want to hurt anybody else by being rude and disrespectful. And so I went out and I took a walk and called my daughter and talked about it. So I had to take care of myself so I wasn't hurting myself or anybody else or doing something that resulted in my feeling worse. And it felt terrible if I'd have been really super rude to those people. So some of the ways that can help you change your mood are examples of healthy coping skills. Getting outside, jumping up and down, screaming and holler in your car where nobody can hear you, journaling for just a few minutes, calling a friend, doing some deep breathing. These are all healthy coping skills that, relieve you of some distress and help you be able to face the situation in a more rational way. It's also called adulting, right? It's also calling emotional regulation. We want to be able to deal with life in an emotionally regulated way, meaning just having healthy adult skills, being appropriate with yourself and with others. So, a lot of times, energy release is a good one. Walking, screaming where you don't hurt anybody else, playing with a pet, playing tug of war, something like that. Just jumping up and down, skipping, running, whatever, just to get some energy out. Sometimes it's sitting down, taking some really good deep breaths, which I always recommend because breathing is the best way to calm your physiology down, right? We don't have to eat food to get that dopamine. We can breathe till we're feeling more peaceful. Sometimes we need to distract ourselves if we're having a craving for something, or if we're really tempted to lash out at somebody, maybe distract yourself for a few minutes by, it can be anything. It could be pulling weeds, or it could be playing a game for 5 minutes on your phone, taking your mind off of what's going on there and putting it on somewhere else. That often gives us just enough time to not be as intense with our emotions so that we can handle the stress much more effectively. Response ability, having the ability to respond appropriately by using and doing something that's going to be healthy and helpful for yourself. Stress will not go away just because you're having bariatric surgery. Life is going to keep on happening. And so if you have in the past regained weight because of life happening or a bad thing happening in your life, then prepare yourself now. Whether things are going great in your life or things are being totally stressful in your life, learn healthy coping skills and have them handy where you can look at them. Because when our emotions are intense, we're not thinking, what's a healthy coping skill? Let me think. No, 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 no. We are not capable of thinking as clearly when we are revved up emotionally because our whole system is in that fight or flight mode and we're not thinking rationally. We're thinking react, do, gets us in trouble. And in the past, your reaction doing has been to pop something into your mouth, not available to you after surgery. So if you want to maintain your healthy weight after bariatric surgery, then you've got to equip yourself with a list of healthy coping skills. And honest to God, I would make a list on your cell phone because when you're not thinking straight, you're not thinking straight. But if you have a list of options for dealing with stress, dealing with anger, dealing with sadness, dealing with frustration, dealing with worry, dealing with anxiety on your phone, you can at least look at it and go, oh, I'll try that. And if that doesn't work, you have another one and another one and another one. You can Google healthy coping skills. You can get lists and lists and lists and lists of options, but you're not going to use those unless you make a conscious effort. Unless you have a list of these predictors for successful weight maintenance, maybe on your phone too. And if you don't practice utilizing these healthy coping skills throughout the day when you're frustrated or irritated or sad or hungry or whatever it is that's leading to emotions, and your habit has been to go to food, you've got to break that habit. And one of the ways to break that habit is to have alternative options readily available for you. I'm telling you how to do this. Whether or not you do it is completely up to you. How badly do you want to maintain weight loss after weight loss surgery? How much effort are you putting into utilizing the skills that you're learning here, that you're learning on other podcasts, that you're learning in your bariatric support groups? I can't say. All I can say is what I say at the end of every one of my talks. And that, my friends, is this is your health. This is your responsibility. This day and every day. Now, I'm going to come back later in the week on Berry Aftercare, berryaftercare.com, and we are going to talk about some absolute specific skills. But in addition, I'm going to share with you some worksheets that I have found that will help you be able to implement these skills more easily. And you can download these and practice. Remember, I don't know how to speak Spanish because I didn't practice it all these years. And if you want to be able to have these skills at the ready when life gets stressful, because it will continue to get stressful and be stressful each and every day, you have to make a habit of practicing, reviewing, utilizing, discussing these healthy coping skills, along with everything else necessary for your long-term success as a post-op patient in order to keep your weight off, to decrease your health problems, and to improve your quality of life. It's a lot. That's why I encourage you to listen to different podcasts, listen to my podcast, listen to your support group podcast, listen to whatever information, and do some reading on your own. And I will see you and hopefully talk with you again on Thursday. All right, my friends, take care. Make it a great one. Learn some healthy skills and put them into practice. Keep that weight off for a lifetime. See you next time. Bye-bye. Oh, please do me a favor and a friend a favor. Encourage them to listen to this. And again, it doesn't have to be related to weight loss. This could be anything. If you have somebody you know who's gone through some sort of treatment program, if you have somebody you know who's trying to make their marriage better or a relationship better, the same thing applies. We need healthy coping skills to deal with life so we don't hurt ourselves or anybody else. So you can use this to be a better parent, to be a better employee, to be a better employer, to be a better friend, to be a better daughter, to be a better mother, sister, friend, spouse, whatever. You get the point. See you next time. So share it. I